Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when this message is going to contribute to your conference. Climate change is a complex and long-term challenge. Thousands of research articles, books and monographs have been written on it over the last few decades, and hundreds more get added almost every week. This complexity is precisely why the United Nations decided to establish an international panel of experts, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, to undertake an assessment. Not an assessment of climate change, mind you, but an assessment of the scientific literature. In other words, to summarize for us the key findings of the literature. What are the key issues? What are the areas of agreement and disagreement? What questions can be answered and what cannot be answered? What kind of research is needed to shrink the areas of uncertainty, confusion and disagreement? And most importantly, what are the policy options available to us to protect the lives and livelihoods of people? The IPCC findings on climate science are well known by now. We know that the evidence of warming is unequivocal, that its pace is accelerating, and that it is attributable mainly to human activities. But equally important, though perhaps less recognized, are the assessments of socioeconomic literature or the literature that combines socioeconomic analysis with technical and engineering dimensions. This is the literature, firstly, on impacts and adaptation, and secondly, on causes and mitigation options. We know that each degree of warming brings in its wake an additional threat to life and well-being, especially for the poorest and most vulnerable. There are threats to the achievement of sustainable development and the Millennium Development Goals. The impacts of climate change will reinforce existing inequalities, hitting the poor countries hardest. And climate change could well lead to greater conflict and insecurity. There is no scientifically accepted safe increase in global average temperatures. A decade ago, some scientists noticed that many threats showed signs of acceleration when temperature increase was projected at 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. This led to the well-known consensus on this target. More recent evidence is far more disturbing, and some countries have sought a target of 1.5 degrees or even less. For me, perhaps the most important contribution of the IPCC is the assessment of the literature on policy options required to remain within the agreed temperature target. As you are aware, the main finding is that even a 2-degree target will require global emissions to be reduced to 50 to 85% of their 1990s levels by 2050. Some analyses have gone on to ask how this global budget could be allocated between developed and developing countries, keeping in view other principles, such as the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities, and other social goals, including full employment and economic stability in developed countries, and sustained economic growth and poverty eradication in developing countries. Budgetary allocations are always highly contentious issues, and this one is no exception. Much more work will be needed by researchers as well as policymakers to resolve the differences that can be resolved and identify compromises over differences that resist resolution. The Secretary General has made climate change a priority for his tenure. He is working with leaders to reach agreement. The United Nations system is bringing all its resources to bear on the problem. The Department of Economic and Social Affairs, in which I serve as Assistant Secretary General, carries out analytical work and supports policy development that embeds climate change in a broader sustainable development context. A strand of work we have pioneered looks not at the allocation of a climate budget, but at whether carefully guided public investment decisions could make the budgetary stalemate more tractable or even irrelevant. Just to give you a quick snapshot, a critical goal is to bring down the cost of renewable energy so that it becomes affordable by poor people and poor countries and also becomes competitive with fossil fuel technologies. We have the technological tools and proven policies to achieve this. A globally coordinated investment program is needed to make this happen. It would effectively decouple future economic growth from greenhouse gas emissions. Developing countries will not need to agonize over potential trade-offs between development and climate goals. It would also stimulate innovation and employment in developed countries. Finally, it would lower the cost of replacement of existing dirty technologies with clean technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants of this conference, I applaud this timely and important conference. As we go forward, all of us, individuals, companies, countries and international organizations, have to continue both to learn and to teach about climate change. If I could leave you with a simple message, it is this. Our ultimate goal in this endeavor is not only to strengthen our understanding, but also, and perhaps more importantly, to enable action. I hope that your discussions are fruitful and insightful, and that they help us find concrete ways to address climate change in your own region and elsewhere. You can always count on our support. Thank you.